Hey everybody, what's happening? Brent Axe here from syracuse.com. We're live on the syracuse.com Syracuse Orange Facebook page, and we're coming off the heels of Dino Babers' press conference if you're watching live, and we're coming off the heels of a Syracuse win. Who wants to go bowling? Because that is 6 wins for Syracuse with a 51-41 victory over NC State, number 22 NC State. We should add at the Carrier Dome here on Saturday night as Sunday morning approaches, and Syracuse gets that 6-win plateau, and for the first time in 5 years, there will be 15 extra practices, and there will be an extra game for the Syracuse football team. They've got a few more to play here in the regular season and an opportunity to really build on what people expected for this football team, but what we do know is that they are going bowling, baby. 6 wins for the Orange, which is a mark that a lot of people kind of felt like was, if they did get to 6 wins coming off back-to-back 4-8 seasons, that would be a successful season, but maybe this team's got a little bit more left in them. So great to have you here. Ken's in Texas. Love to see it. So just leave those comments. You guys chat amongst yourselves. I'll jump in there here momentarily, and we'll talk about this 51-41 win for Syracuse over NC State. We're live here tonight, presented by our friends at Krause Health. And as always, great to have you on board here. So, look, defense took the night off until it mattered the most. I think we should actually start there because there's so much to talk about offensively, the quarterback situation, which kind of resolved itself after a week, and what kind of fireworks we saw in the Dome tonight. That Syracuse defense had to make a play, and they stepped up when they had to. Antoine Cordy makes 2 huge tackles, breaks up a play, and then Alton Robinson comes in with the great pressure on Ryan Finley and an interception by Andrew Armstrong, who Dino Babers described in his press conference as somebody, if they didn't need him on defense, he'd love to have him as a tight end. It was the one turnover of the entire football game. It's amazing that Syracuse and NC State played the type of game they did, and there was one turnover, and it was the key turnover that Syracuse needed to seal the deal. But certainly Eric Dungey with big redemption in the Carrier Dome tonight. He's pulled from last week's game with 5:07 to go. Tommy DeVito comes in. He's the conquering hero. Many people out there, myself included, I will admit, felt that we kind of saw a changing of the guard, a passing of the baton, however you want to phrase it. It looked like Tommy was the man. Dino did not name a starting quarterback throughout the week. Tommy DeVito, Eric Dungey didn't talk to the media throughout the week. So while most people felt that Eric Dungey would get the opportunity to start and earn his job back, it was still a mystery right up until about kick time. Eric Dungey comes out. Now, Tommy DeVito did play a series at the end of the first half when the Syracuse offense kind of slowed down a bit after an electric first quarter. They were shot out of a cannon in this game. But Eric Dungey said, why don't you take that quarterback discussion, controversy, whatever you want to call it, and stick it where the sun don't shine. 411. That's the number. 411 yards tonight for Eric Dungey. He was 27 of 38 with 3 touchdowns on the day. We mentioned DeVito did get in. He was just 2 for 3 for 21 yards. Did have an intentional grounding as well, so a freshman mistake there. It was incredible to see the air show in the Dome tonight. Over 1,000 yards combined between NC State and Syracuse. Ryan Finley, who's going to be a first or second round pick potentially in the upcoming NFL draft. He'll certainly be selected in the upcoming NFL draft. 473 yards himself, 26 of 44 on the night. So when you look at the numbers, I mean, you can look at them all day. Syracuse had 30 first downs in this game. They had 79 plays for 561 yards. NC State right behind them, 73 plays for 541 yards. Yeah, so for the most part, defense took the night off in this football game, but the Syracuse defense steps up when they need to. It was an air show in the Dome, and it was a fun game to watch. So a lot happening for Syracuse in terms of they're going bowling. We know that when you see these bowl watches come out, it's not a matter of if Syracuse will be there. It's a matter of where. Which bowl game will they go to? That's what you'll be paying attention to the rest of the season. The Orange go to Wake Forest next week, who hammered Louisville today. I don't know what has happened to Louisville, but Syracuse, those are Syracuse's next 2 opponents. Wake Forest at Wake Forest next week, then back in Syracuse for a Friday night game, November the 9th against Louisville. So 2 teams that Syracuse certainly is capable of handling there. Then you get Notre Dame at Yankee Stadium, and then you get Boston College. The bottom line, I think Syracuse is certainly capable of winning all 4 of its final games. I don't think they'll necessarily do that because I think you still need to play a little defense. I still think some things have to happen for Syracuse to, be an 8 or 9 win football team. But certainly the opportunity is there for Syracuse to say, you know what, 6 wins is nice, but they can build on that and they can do better than that. So another question is, will Syracuse be ranked come tomorrow? I am an Associated Press voter. I can tell you I will vote for Syracuse tomorrow in my poll because everybody's got different rules. That's one of the beauties of the AP poll. Everybody's kind of left to their own devices to kind of figure out who the 25 best teams in the country are. I can tell you as an AP voter, something that's big for me and a way to get in the poll is if you beat a team there. If you beat a team that's in the poll, that's a way for you to vault into it. Now, Syracuse didn't get any votes last week, so it might be a tough climb to go from 0 votes to in the poll. But they're going to get my vote. NC State was number 22 in the country. Syracuse beat a ranked team. They were so close to being ranked a couple of weeks ago. 6-2 team now. There's a lot of 2-loss teams in the poll or near the poll, so they will get my vote. I don't know if that'll be enough to push them in, but we'll see tomorrow. The AP poll usually comes out about 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, so keep an eye out for that. See if the Orange are in. They're certainly going to get a lot of votes in the poll tomorrow. So, look, back and forth offensive game. The first quarter was incredible. I just want to go back and look at the first quarter numbers of this football game because Dungey was ready. Syracuse was ready. At the end of the first quarter, Syracuse had 277 total yards to NC State's 113. But NC State kind of, punched back in the second quarter, outpacing Syracuse 199 to 111. And then you go to the third quarter, right? And let's see, third quarter, it was pretty even. It was 120 to 119. And then you go to the fourth quarter, and that's when NC State actually won out in terms of total yards. But that first quarter is when Syracuse set the tempo. Eric Dungey was on fire. He's slinging it, and that deep pass was on. That deep ball was, as the kids would say, on point. And he got his confidence rolling, and Syracuse had that 21-7 lead. But as we've seen, we saw it last week when Syracuse won a football game. We saw it 2 prior weeks when they lost. Those fourth quarter leads, or even if they're down a score in the fourth quarter, it's going to be tense. Clemson came down to the final possession. Pittsburgh went to overtime. NC State went to overtime. And Syracuse, in that case, won that game and needed Tommy DeVito to give them the lift to do that. In this case, Syracuse kind of held on in the fourth quarter and got a defensive play when they really needed it, but you just had to keep scoring. Just keep scoring, keep getting points on the board. And Eric Dungey did that tonight. Eric Dungey responded. Eric Dungey had a fire lit under his butt by Dino Babers, by Tommy DeVito to an extent as well, and it worked. So if Dungey has kind of put a grapple hold on the starting job for the rest of the year, we'll see how that goes. Bottom line is Syracuse's depth at quarterback, and they have somebody that if Dungey starts to falter, then you will see Tommy DeVito come in and take over for him. But, Dungey sent a big message at the Carrier Dome tonight saying, okay, you think it's time for the young gun? I got a few games left in me. He goes out there, 411 yards, one of the highest performances he's had in his career. He's now over 10,000 total yards for Syracuse. He set about 15 quarterback records. So, Dungey certainly said that he was not done tonight, and it was really fun to see. All right, let's see what you guys are saying here. Joe noting great game, great win, but ultimately only going to go as far as the defense will take us, and that's not a good thought. Listen, the defense has to step up. We know it's a weakness. We know that there's things on that defense that, how can I put this? They're not going to get much better than they are. You just have to kind of put a Band-Aid on what you have there. There were some more injuries in the secondary. That's a banged-up secondary. Scoop Bradshaw's playing hurt. Chris Frederick's playing with a bad ankle. Melon Fonwu, who had a terrific game a week ago, he got banged up out there tonight. So that secondary is a little banged up. I thought, the linebackers, in certain cases tonight, Armstrong made the great interception. They were used a lot more in the pass rush tonight, particularly in the first half. But, Ryan Finley's a really good quarterback. I think we need to factor that in. It's Nathan Elliott last week for North Carolina, kind of an average quarterback. Ryan Finley's going to play in the NFL, and he picked apart this team. But I got to give some credit to the Syracuse pass rush, which has been good all year. Robinson and the linebackers, as we mentioned, even some safeties were coming in on the blitz. They really put some pressure on Ryan Finley. He still threw for over 400 yards because he's pretty darn good. And Kelvin Harmon is another NFL caliber wide receiver. But, Joe makes a great point to say they're only going to go as far as the defense carries them. So we'll see where that is. But bottom line is this is a team that's bowl eligible, and it's going to be getting those 15 extra practices to work on that defense. And we'll see what comes in the last 4 games of the season. It makes for interesting viewing, doesn't it? It makes for a lot of tough, competitive, back and forth games in a fourth quarter where you're kind of watching on the edge of your seat. If anything, Syracuse is entertaining. Biggest crowd of the year at the Carrier Dome, 40,769 was the listed attendance. That's, I think, a little off what the actual butts and seats count at the Dome was, but certainly good to see the crowd slowly but surely coming back. You got to earn those fair weather fans back. It's Halloween weekend, a lot of big Halloween parties, nights. It's a big Halloween party night, I should say, going into the holiday on Wednesday. Excuses, right? Pouring all day in Syracuse. You weren't apple picking, you weren't raking the leaves, you weren't doing things like that. Some hardy tailgaters out there. Shout out to those tailgaters that went out there and did their thing, even in the pouring rain in Syracuse today. But, you got to get that fair weather crowd back and go into a bowl game. And, Dino Babers with another big win. Virginia Tech in year 1, Clemson, of course, in year 2. Florida State is a nice win, but, not really the Florida State of old, not the ranked Florida State. NC State was a ranked football team. They just keep piling up these big wins that you have to send that message that, Syracuse football is winning games they shouldn't be. And, the shame of it is that Syracuse is in the Atlantic Division with Clemson because they're not going to beat out Clemson to get to the ACC title game. So let's put Syracuse in the Coastal. Let's switch them because, that side of the ACC is a mess. But Syracuse would kind of be the cream that rises to the top there. Look, Syracuse has proven itself to be one of the better teams in what has been a chaos of a league this year. But, they've been pretty consistent, and they're this close to being undefeated. Woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? If I won the Mega Millions, if I got the right numbers, I'd be a millionaire. You can woulda, coulda, shoulda it all day. You can really make the case this could be an undefeated football team. They're like 2 possessions away from being undefeated. So, keep that in mind too. But how long can you hide the deficiencies of the defense is a big question. A couple of you making some comments about strength and conditioning and, how good that's been for this Syracuse team. They've made some changes there. And, it shows in the fourth quarter. That's when it really shows. You got to suck it up and make those big plays, even when you're tired. There was how many plays were run in this game? Let's see. Syracuse bring up the total stats here. Syracuse ran 79 plays. NC State ran 73 plays. A wild game. So, yeah, conditioning has to be tip-top for sure. From Israel, hello, Mendy, who's checking in from Israel. Fantastic. What time is it in Israel? God bless you for staying up this late with us here tonight. Garth saying the crowd caused that interception. Dungey was getting them up. He was. The crowd was good tonight. The crowd was loud, but that last possession, that's when it's the loud house. That's when you really make a difference. And Dungey was out there leading the crowd. What I like to see, too, was when Dungey was getting going in that first quarter and he threw that bomb to Nykeem Johnson, the 82-yard touchdown. Syracuse had, I think the final tally was 7 plays over 20 yards on offense. One of the first people out there on the field doing the chest bump and getting out there with Dungey was Tommy DeVito. So that's why and I made this point earlier in the week. And look, again, to be honest, I felt it was time to change to Tommy DeVito. Eric Dungey went out there and squashed that thought tonight for sure. But one word you couldn't use throughout the week, and I made this point on the radio and I made this point on social media and wherever I could, was it wasn't a controversy. A controversy would ensue. There's some kind of rift between Dungey and DeVito, between the coaching staff and the quarterbacks. That wasn't the case at all. It was performance-based. Dungey was stale a week ago. Dino felt he needed a spark. He needed to throw something different at North Carolina to win that game. It worked. Dungey responded in this game against NC State. And good for him for doing that. The kid's a competitor. That guy is just going to go down with a fight. And I like it that here we are. Now, it's not November yet. Okay, the big thing with Eric Dungey is we want to see him play football games in November, which we haven't because of injury in the past couple of years. You want to see him ride it out now. If he went out there and put his stamp back on that job and said, this is my job and you're not taking it yet, you want to see him ride it out and win those games in November. The next time Syracuse plays a football game, it'll be November at Wake Forest, and that'll be the first time we'll see Eric Dungey play in that month. It's incredible to think, he's been injured and, has been knocked out and just hasn't been around for the final stretch of the past couple of years. But knock on wood, hopefully that'll be the case if he continues to play like the way he did tonight. And it was important for Dungey to play the way he did tonight because the defense for 3.5 quarters couldn't make a stop. Finley was picking them apart, even under pressure. We mentioned the big game that Harlow had at wide receiver. It was a field day. So, this is a bend but don't break defense that kind of makes the play when they absolutely have to. They did it against North Carolina a week ago too, but you don't have to save the drama for the fourth quarter. You can't make plays in the other 3 quarters as well, that's for sure. Richard said Syracuse football has become relevant again. Jay thinks they'll end up in the top 25, had some losses to help sneak the Orange in. Yeah, that's a great point, Jay. The other thing is with the poll is what happens at the back end of the poll. So did you beat a team that's in the poll? The answer is yes. What happened at the back end of the poll to get you in? There were some losses there. Are you certainly a worthy top 25 team? Do you have the wins? Do you have the resume? The answer to that is yes. So Syracuse is checking all those boxes. I just, I could be wrong here, but just sensing patterns and being a voter for the past 6 years, to see a team go from no votes to in the poll is something you don't see often. Doesn't mean it can't happen. Doesn't mean Syracuse didn't earn their way in. And again, they didn't earn my vote for sure. Tony asking, what are the bowl alliances for the ACC? I don't have that off the top of my head, Tony, unfortunately. I could try and look that up while we're yakking about it here. But I did see that one of them was Detroit. So Detroit in December, I don't know if that's something that tickles your fancy, but I know Birmingham's in the mix, Detroit's in the mix. Let's see, I think I got it right here. God bless the Google. So, all right, so here are the bowl alliances for the ACC, right? So you have the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, you have the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, you have the Camping World Bowl, you have the Belk Bowl, which is in North Carolina, you have the Gator Bowl, which is in Florida, you have the Pinstripe Bowl, certainly familiar with that, right? The Sun Bowl. There's other bowls that they're all aligned with, including the Military Bowl, the Independence Bowl. I believe that's still in Louisiana. The Quick Lane Bowl, that's the one in Detroit. The Gasparilla Bowl, I have no idea what that is. I think those are like lawnmowers, right? Let's see, there's a bowl in Dallas that has an affiliation at Birmingham. So there you go. God bless you, Google. We looked that up on the fly, and there it was for us right there. Jerry saying, don't let up off the gas after the first quarter, could have put this game away by halftime. I think that was a combination of really, not only did I think they let off the gas a little bit, but I think NC State adjusted. I think they saw what they were doing. They started to get in Dungey's face. Credit to that offensive line who blocked when they needed to. There was a few plays where Dungey was scrambling, as you would anticipate, but I think NC State made an adjustment there too. But it was weird because it's almost like they got through those scripted plays and then they kind of backed off and tried to use some clock there. But I'm with you, man. Keep that pedal to the metal and keep it going. Kathleen, hello, Kathleen. DeVito was on Dungey's heels and Dungey responded. Sometimes it's just good old-fashioned competition, the young guns nipping at your heels, and all of a sudden those passes get sharper. You watch a little more film. That arm gets a little stronger. Dungey took a couple shots in this game, too, that I thought would knock him out of the game, but he just keeps on trucking. Let's see. You guys were responding to some of the ACC bowl affiliations there. We looked those up. Thank you. Rich saying no more toilet bowl. I like that. Preston saying even with Dungey and the offense is really good game, the defensive end who pressured Finley at the end might have saved the win. Yeah, that was Alton Robinson. It was a real combo there because Cordy made 2 great plays before that. Robinson just right in Finley's face, got around his offensive lineman, right there, causing Finley to kind of react, and boom, Andrew Armstrong, right place, right time, interception, and Syracuse sealed the deal. And they needed a defensive play to do that because this is one of those whoever had the ball last was going to win kind of games, and Armstrong ensured that Syracuse was that team with that great play that he made in the interception. So defense made a play when they had to, but, their overall grade from this game, still about like a C-, right? William saying if we're going bowling up north, do the Pinstripe Bowl. Otherwise, let's land a nice bowl somewhere warm so I can take off work and go on a mini vacation. I think we're all with you there, William. I don't know if I want to go to Detroit in December. No offense to the fine people of Detroit. Just I'd rather go somewhere warm, or the Pinstripe Bowl. And Syracuse is playing in Yankee Stadium. So that would mean they'd play in Yankee Stadium November 17th, and if they get the Pinstripe Bowl, in Yankee Stadium again about a month later. So, I mean, yeah, I'm with you there. If you're going to play somewhere up north, let's make it Yankee Stadium, right, where we know Syracuse fans love to go and will show up. Speaking of the Yankees, by the way, random thing here I saw on Twitter, saw a nice photo of this. Voice of the Yankees, John Sterling, was in the press box at the game. Saw a photo with him and Jim Boeheim shared on Twitter by the great Ed Levine of Galaxy Communications. So ponder what John Sterling's home run call of a Jim Boeheim home run would be. John Sterling not working tonight, though, because the Red Sox and Dodgers are playing in the World Series and not the New York Yankees. Sorry, Yankee fans. Just had to get that shot in there. Torrance saying, what's the prediction on Wake Forest? I'll tell you what, Wake Forest can score. Wake Forest has an up-and-coming freshman quarterback. Greg Dortch is one of the better wide receivers in the ACC. They put up a ton of points on Louisville today. I don't think Louisville's defense is as bad as Syracuse, but there's a lot of, similarities you can draw there. Syracuse is a defense that, is going to give up a lot of points, as we've seen, and the offense has to kind of carry the load and back and forth there. At Wake Forest, never easy. Weather could be a factor. Remember the last time they went there, Hurricane Matthew had just come through. So I'll be curious how Syracuse responds outdoors and what could be a weather game and a team that can score. I love what I've seen out of Wake Forest. They're kind of like Syracuse. They've built their way up. They're going to bowl games again. That's a program that's getting some pretty good recruits. Remember, John Wolford came in and torched Syracuse a year ago. He's gone. So good news there for the Orange. But I think it's going to be a similar game to today, Torrance. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game like we saw at the Dome today. Let's see, a couple more comments from you guys, and then tell you what. Hope you guys can read my recap tomorrow on syracuse.com. All of our great coverage, Stephen Bailey and Nate Mink and Dennis Nett on photographs, the great Jason Murray, and everybody hard at work tonight. And we'll have all of our coverage, some of it up here on Saturday night. Most of it you'll see on Sunday. And a little plug for our little video we do on Thursdays. It's called Orange Weekly. Nate Mink and I do that. It's a video that comes out every Thursday. Also presented by our friends at Krause Health, by the way. And it's a great kind of 7-minute quick watch. We do preview of the upcoming game, review all the big topics in Syracuse football. We've got sound bites from Dino Babers and players. Doesn't take you that long to watch. You just see it wherever it is on. We put it out on social media on the Syracuse football account. I put it on my Twitter account, Brent Axe Media. We put it here on Facebook on the Syracuse Orange Facebook page. So you can see that on Thursdays. Nice, quick 7-minute watch usually. So get you ready for the upcoming game. So a little plug there. I hope you can watch that. Let's see. Rob says, can it be said that our offense left NC State's defense worn out at times, or did we witness an epic offensive performance by Dungey in the Orange that was ready to conquer the late-game challenges that helped put the game away? Starting to feel a bit concerned that ACC opponents are enhancing their conditioning efforts and learning how to adapt to our vaunted 2-3 zone. Our up-tempo offense. I like that. Yeah, I know there was a little bit of sarcasm there, but I think that, teams are kind of adjusting to that. They know what to expect, and everybody's got to be conditioned and being able to play in that fourth quarter. But you can see that NC State defense kind of gasping for some last gasps of air there in the fourth quarter, thanks to that Syracuse offense and the high-octane pace that they went at. Bottom line, Syracuse is going bowling, kids. They're at 6 wins. They're 6-2 after a win over NC State, a shot to get in the poll tomorrow. We'll keep an eye on that. And then, of course, we'll keep an eye on how things go forward in the last 4 games of the season as we cross into November. Basketball season sneaking up on us here. Another exhibition game on Halloween night, and then we'll be kind of crossing back and forth between football and basketball, but we know we'll be doing that pretty much to the end of the year, right? Because Syracuse claimed a bowl spot with its 6th win tonight. They'll get 15 extra practices, and then now we go on bowl watch to await where we'll be heading in December. Hopefully not Detroit. All right, thanks for watching tonight here on Facebook Live. Thanks to our friends at Krause Health. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. Okay, let's go Red Sox, and we'll meet again right here next week. Syracuse and Wake Forest, we know, is a 12:20 kickoff, so we'll be here right after Dino's press conference, so about 4 o'clock or so next week. meet right back here. We'll talk Syracuse football. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks for watching tonight here on Facebook Live.